So we're really excited about this. There are really so many directions to go in as far as Afrofuturism when we're thinking about what the possibilities for visual art, poetry, and short fiction are. And I wanted to start us off with just a little bit of a joke. As we're giving a primer, this is a video that many people have probably seen, but just to kind of think about um, what the future can look like, right, and what the possibilities are. Let's start with this little quick video.
How fast are your teleporters? No teleporters. Flying cars. No. A high-speed train that goes around the planet? No, you don't have that either. Okay. What about, does everyone have health care? Is there enough food to go around? It looks like some people are starving. You do have enough food. Then why isn't it logistics? You want me to write logistics? Okay. Starving because of logistics. Have you colonized any other planets? Not even Mars? It's right down the street. I mean, things could be worse, right? Imagine if you were still fighting over resources. Oh, you do? You have big wars? Oh, and you have a pandemic. Right now, you have a pandemic. Oh no, it's Jaison. Bring the sanitizer. Thank you. I understand you have a very charismatic little biped called a dodo bird. I would love to meet one. Could you bring me a dodo? Could you show me a dodo bird? No, it's fine. Let's move on. You need to use the bathroom? We haven't done that in centuries. We don't do that here. Oh, you still have prisons. Oh, Jaison, they still have prisons. Why did you turn the wolf into the pug? Okay, well, I think that should be enough. You've given us a lot to think about. We'll see you soon. Bye. Jaison, burn their application. It's disgusting. The whole planet. Can you imagine? The bathroom, Jaison?
I really appreciate that video because it really highlights there's so many possibilities, right? Outside of aliens, so much of the world that we're living in are not because they seem reasonable or exciting to us. Like most of us are not excited at the possibility of prisons, for example. So I like this quote from Adrienne Marie Brown in her book Emergent Strategy. Right now, we are living inside the results of other people's imaginations. People who couldn't imagine Black people being free, fat girls being sexy, disabled people being leaders. So we really want to push back against that and really imagine a world where all of these possibilities and more are being written and visualized and imagined into existence. A brief overview, kind of thinking about Afrofuturism, an intersection of culture, imagination, technology, the future, and liberation. Ingrid LaFleur talks about it as a way to encourage experimentation, reimagine identities, and activate liberation. This is something that we're actively trying to encourage at Upend, is really the idea that abolition is really about experimentation, about trying to create the world, actively create the world that we need and deserve as we dismantle the harms that exist now. So some common ideas that are often explored in Afrofuturism and speculative fiction that might be helpful as you're thinking about going about your work. When have we seen norms change? What if certain trends catch on? Let's say, as an example, I've been watching a lot of the reality shows on TV. What if we live in a future where there's no more family separation because everyone lives in these kind of mansions together as they do on all these dating shows? There's some kind of trend that picked up there, right? Communal living went to the max. What systems are causing harm now, and what happens if they go away? How might our solutions create space for new problems that we hadn't expected? You know, the typical example that we'll see in movies, thinking about, what is it, I Am Legend with Will Smith, where they created a solution to cancer, right? And it created zombies. Hopefully you all's worlds don't end up creating zombies. But Ideally, we aren't imagining a utopia, we're imagining a world without family policing. What new problems? Hopefully we can get more interesting, non-zombie problems as we work towards solutions to the issues that come up through family policing. And here are some examples. Here's this first one is by Huey Smith, The Promise from 1981, right? Just imagining a family, right? Family staying together, general image of a family, right? This in itself can be seen as Afrofuturism. This called The Promise, right? Can absolutely be seen as Afrofuturism. What is the future that we're envisioning? What are scenes that we imagine for ourselves and that we want for ourselves and our families? For some families in 1981, this was not a possibility. In terms of poetry, here's a poem by Lucille Clifton called Armageddon. I am all that will be left to them in that day. Men will come here full armed to make their last war. Their bodies will litter this valley floor. They will lie here together then, intimate and quiet as lovers, their ruby hearts still bleeding through in places. So sometimes people focus on the time of transition. What are because there is going to be a transition period, what is it that people are going through in those periods? So that's an example of some things that might be worth considering as you're working on your pieces. Here's a project that actually is not Afrofuturism, but I think provides some great inspiration to be thinking about. So this is a project that actually profiled people that were fleeing violence in East Africa and making their way to safety. And so the artist took portraits of the artists, and then you'll see the line there. This pink line is actually showing the journey. So it's kind of mapping the journey that the person took to get between the two countries. And then below it, the person whose picture is there, their information or their journey, they actually wrote poetry about their journey. And so it's actually documenting the process to actually get to freedom and safety. So I really like this as an example of something where we can really be speaking to what does that transition process look like as for someone in the future who's looking back on the transition to a world of liberation. Here is an artist, Wangechi Mutu, a piece, Family Tree, that's part of a piece called Family Tree that's actually part of a series. And Wangechi Mutu often pulls together, technology, nature, often feminine figures to really imagine a hybrid future, a hybridized future where our interactions with each other, our interactions with nature look very different. So I wanted to highlight this as an example for the visual artists. And then for short fiction, that moment of change is oftentimes or a sudden change, right? Aliens come, for example, the Galactic Federation, as we saw in that clip at the beginning. But something very big comes and causes a change. That means our whole paradigm is shifting. This is actually a short story by W.E.B. Du Bois from 1920 called The Comet, where we see a Black man who is working in a bank and ends up being sent down into the vault, right? Working in a service role, he's sent down into the vault, and a comet comes during that period, and then the world changes. His world changes as a result. So I'll let you all read the actual story. It's openly available if you Google it. But this idea that something very sudden can come and change. Maybe it's a certain technology, right? Maybe it is some external influence, but what is it that's going to come and cause the change that produces a world without family policing? So this is just an example of short stories. So I want to pause there. Actually, yeah. So we came up with a couple prompts. We wanted to actually make this something that is collaborative, where we are coming together to imagine what might this exploration process look like. So we're going to begin with an activity, and then we'll take a little time for questions after this quick exercise. But I created a Jamboard, and I'm going to share this link in the chat. So I created a Jamboard, and we can start with the first, with this first page, which says, what do family dinners look like in the future you envision? So here in this case, we can really just look at what is a scene, what's a future memory that we envision that we're working our way towards, right? What does a family dinner simply look like when there's no family policing? So I'd like you all, so if you haven't used Jamboard before, you can either click the sticky notes on the side, or if you have something longer that you want to write, you can click the text box, and then you'll be able to add in information that way. But I want us to take some time to think about what are the pieces that would shift when it comes to something as simple as a family dinner.